Joseph, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's been probably a crazy couple of weeks just in general. We won't get too much into this whole recruiting thing, but just kind of take us back, man. How did it all get started? How did it come to the point where you decided Georgia was the spot?
To be honest, when I felt Georgia was the spot was on my first visit, on my unofficial. On the last day, I was like, yeah, this is it. Because just all the hospitality, the people, and then the potential that I have mixed with the tools that they have, it could make me a really good player, make a lot of money in this game. So, yeah.
I get it. One of the things that stands out to me, Joseph, about you and your game and is really just the length of time that you've been doing this, which is not very long. You're new to this thing, man.
Yeah.
The progression, how do you discover football? How do you kind of fall into this thing? Who was the first person who came up to you and said, hey, you ever thought about maybe putting your hand in the dirt and hitting somebody in the mouth?
Yeah, so my uncle, when I first moved to America, a couple months living here, I went to go visit him, and he was watching a game, and I just asked him questions, and then he was like, you would make a perfect football player when you're older. But at the time, I didn't want to play football. I wanted to play basketball because my dad played basketball, so I wanted to do. But I didn't actually start playing till my coach, my freshman year, pushed me to play. So that's how it all started.
Since that time, I guess what's been kind of the biggest adjustment for you? You talked about you wanted to kind of go into it playing basketball. You play football now. Was it the physicality? Was it the bigger team? Was it, I guess what were the harder pieces for you to pick up maybe?
Physicality was not a problem, but I feel like the hard stuff was definitely getting my technique right, since I was so new to the game at the time. As of right now, my technique is very good, very refined. But back then, I didn't have any technique. I used the same moves, just the same bull rush. But I changed that during my sophomore going into my junior year. So, yeah.
So basketball was kind of where it started. Was that kind of, as far as sports goes, was that your first love? I mean, was that what really got you into maybe like competition just in general?
Yeah, that was my first love.
What did you play? I mean, what positionally in basketball? What are we talking about here? I mean, I assume power forward, if not center. But I would say I would not want to go down in the paint with you.
Yeah, power forward and center.
Okay. Now, in terms of basketball, how good were you? Like, was it ever a point where you're just kind of like, man, I'm pretty, I can hoop a little bit,
I was decent. I was very talented. It was just all talent, really.
Right.
I wasn't all flashy and whatnot. I can't dribble. I can shoot, though. I can rebound,
yeah,
do a layup, but I can't dribble. So,
right.
Okay.
So take me back. At what age did you move to the States from Nigeria?
Oh,
how old were you? Okay.
7.
Do you remember Nigeria at all? Do you remember like growing up there at all and kind of what it was like? And tell us, man, because I mean, both Roos and I, we love to travel and we love to talk. We love food tourism. We like talking about food and things like that. So is he? There he is. Okay,
there he is.
He dug out there for a minute. But so I've always wondered what is Nigeria like, and where did you grow up in Nigeria?
So Nigeria. I grew up in the capital, so big city. It's hot, but you get used to it, Lots of people. When you grow up in the city, it's basically like living in New York, but it's like a hot New York. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. But when you live in the village, there's a bunch of sand. You see all the animals, the cows, and then just people living their day-to-day lives. And everybody's just chilling, minding their own business. One thing that was really weird when I first came to this country is just how random people like say hi to you on the street. You know, like in Nigeria, you don't do that. You mind your business and just,
Okay.
Yeah, stay in your own lane.
I bet that was probably a little bit of a issue there in Texas, huh? I mean, like you kind of get down to the because have you always lived in Texas since you moved over, or was that the first place? Did you guys move to Houston first, or kind of how did it work there?
We lived in Maryland first for 2 years, then we came down to Texas.
Okay, which one do you prefer?
I prefer Texas because of the heat.
Okay.
You're going to fit in well in Athens is what I can say about that. If you like the heat, you're going to do real well there.
Yeah, it gets real warm in Georgia. Real warm.
Yeah. What was that transition like, man? I mean, coming from, like you said, you're not used to people saying hi on the street, but, just kind of the overall vibe, trying to acclimate to, Texas, which is honestly quite a unique place in America. Versus being in Nigeria and just, kind of picking up the culture there. And I guess, too, what's been your favorite part of Texas other than the heat, I guess?
So the transition, it wasn't really hard, but it also wasn't easy. It was in between, I had to get to know the people and then kind of fit in, but I also wanted to be myself. So, yeah, that took some time. People thought I was weird back when I was younger, but I'm still myself like I was back then, so now I'm cool, I guess. What I really like about Texas is just like it's just big, It's a cool state to live in.
All right, so go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Like there's just like a lot of food, like beef.
Yeah.
You're on the right. You're on the right show for beef lovers.
Listen,
I can assure you.
That's a great lead in. I was going to ask you. All right, on one hand, you've got kind of authentic Nigerian cuisine. On the other hand, you got authentic Texas barbecue. Which way are you going?
Nigerian.
Nigerian.
All right.
Yeah, this is what I was really interested in here because
I know so if we hit the Nigerian spot, all right. If we go to the Nigerian place, what are we ordering, man? Like, tell me what I need to tell me what's on Joseph Jonah-Ajonye's order list when you're going to the Nigerian place.
All right, personally, what I would order pounded yam and okra soup, my favorite. And then on the side, I'm gonna have some jollof rice and some chicken with some plantains.
Oh, see, now listen, I spent some time in Senegal, and so I ran into a little bit of that jollof rice and the plantains as well. And so it's interesting to hear that, man. And it's that stuff. I still think about it a lot, to be honest with you. Do you guys have a good spot? I mean, do you got a spot maybe in like Houston that you can go hit?
No, I don't eat out much. All I eat is home cooked meals, and jollof rice. They all taste different in whatever part of Africa you're in. Personally, Nigeria is the best. I've tasted all type of jollof rice, but Nigeria is definitely the best. We're just different. Put it simply.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And Nigerian food, from what I understand, I did a little bit of research on this. A lot of stews, a lot of soups, a lot of like rustic, different cuts. What is that? I was going to ask you, what is that kind of doughy like bread that it's like you just kind of rip off a piece of it, and what is that stuff called?
I don't know why people compare it to bread because it looks.
Yeah, I know. It's just because of the whole dipping it in something and eating it. But yeah.
But basically, there's all different types. But like the main ones, it's wheat that they grind up, and then you let it sit for a little bit. And then when you want to cook it, get some hot water. Then you put the grinded up wheat in the water, mix it all up, and then that's how you make it.
Okay.
I don't know that I've ever. Is it similar to like injera?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so that's like some the Somalis, the Somalian cuisine. They have that, or Eritrean. I've had that before, and it's like a big flatbread. It's like a big weird you kind of rip the thing off and dip it. So I didn't know if it was kind of the same thing, but I'll have to give that a shot, man.
My sister's probably gonna know all of that because she loves Africa a lot. I only know about West Africa, but she knows about all of Africa. So yeah.
I got you.
You mentioned when I talked to you before your commitment, and you kind of very graciously gave us an interview, and I really appreciate that still. You talked about your sister. Is she older or is she younger?
She's younger by 11 months.
Okay. Oh, wow. You guys are pretty tight. And you talked about kind of one of the things that you loved about that Georgia visit was how you've never seen her have so much fun, like ever. Like you said that she just kind of came out of her shell. What do you think it was about Georgia? Was it Georgia coaches? Was it Athens? Was it the support staff? I mean, who was it that kind of got her to kind of fire on all cylinders there?
I think it was all of that, but I'm going to give it to two main people. So Coach Smart, he did a very great job. And then David Cooper. Those two really made my mom and sister have a lot of fun.
I'm David Cooper. No, yeah. I was going to say, I'm pretty curious to know about Coach Coop. He's one of those guys that he's not like the coaching staff, right? But he seems like he has a hand in everything, man. And he's always got the great tweets. What can you tell us about Coach Coop, man? Because he's not a guy that I don't feel like Georgia fans know him very well.
Bro, Coach Coop, bro. He has one of the best personalities I've ever experienced on this planet. Like, when the first day I met him, we just clicked. It's he knows how to get along with different types of people off rip. It's actually kind of amazing.
I don't know if he's the coach that I've heard this about. I don't know exactly. I don't know who it is, but I've had multiple people tell me that there's a support staffer that kind of either walks around singing all the time or he walks around dancing all the time. Is that Coach Coop? Is he that kind of guy that just he's always moving, always making some sounds?
Yeah, that's Coop.
That's cool though, man, because I mean, one of the things that and I wrote a story about this years and years ago, and I haven't done it since. I probably need to. Is I wrote a story kind of about these people who make the engine run, like at these programs. And I know you probably met a lot of them. Whether you were going, I don't know if you got the chance to visit Oregon, but you probably saw some similar people at Oklahoma, some similar people at Texas Tech who are kind of the support staffers. Their names aren't, maybe they don't even have big titles or anything. They're just people that are involved with everything, and they kind of make it all work. But it's one of those interesting aspects. How much did those people just across the board, not just Coach Coop, but the people at Oklahoma, the people at Texas Tech, the people at Oregon, those non-coaches, how much of an impact did they have on your recruitment, and how many good relationships did you build there?
They had a pretty good impact. Their whole job is just to make the recruits feel comfortable and home as possible. And I feel like they all did a very good job, especially at Georgia and Oklahoma, Yeah. What was the other question?
No, that was just it. And
okay.
Yeah.
No, I was going to ask. I mean, outside of Coach Coop, we hear him a lot, right? But were there some other people like that were kind of behind the scenes guys that everybody knows Trey Scott, everybody knows Coach Uzo Duribe, are there some guys besides Coach Coop that kind of were impactful for you in a major way?
Yeah, Logan Reed, she's a great person. She also has a fun personality. She's like a female version of Coop.
I hope she watches this and gets to react to that comment.
So in terms of kind of your recruitment and everything, and you said basically starting on that unofficial visit, what was the moment? What was that moment with Georgia that you were kind of like? Because you said going into it, Georgia was in pretty good shape going into that visit because you set it up quickly. They were a dream school for you. What was it that kind of clicked with you on that first visit that made you kind of really dial in there?
There we go.
My mom called me. She wants me to make some fufu. That's what she wants me to do.
Fufu. That's what it's called, isn't it? That's the dip. Yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna watch this later and be like, "Oh shit, I messed up."
That's hilarious, dude. Well, do we need to let you go? Do you got to get going? I mean, listen, I ain't trying to get in the way of dinner time.
I'm gonna text her that I'm doing the interview. She'll understand. She's sure.
This is the first on Bark After Dark. I gotta say, we've never had. I mean, I've texted my mom on Bark After Dark at some point, I'm sure, but I don't know that we've ever had a guest do it. So
I don't know that I've ever become between a family and their supper before. I mean, I feel bad about this.
Yeah, well, Huggy Bear had to go wash that time, so
yeah, he did. He did.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, you're good, man.
No problem. Hey, let me skip my last question because that I think that's probably been asked before. I do want to ask you this though. Obviously, Oklahoma was in good shape for you for a while. How hard was it kind of calling them and telling them that it wasn't going to be them?
It was shoot, man. I had just woke up from a nap and Coach Bates was texting me. So I just called him, and like it was. I don't want to say it was awkward, but I had to man up and just say like, "Hey, Coach, I don't think I'm gonna be coming to OU," and that's exactly what I did. And he took it like a man, And he was just like, "All right, that sucks," He really wanted me to come there, and we had built such a close bond too. So,
well, yeah, I feel like that's something that folks don't really understand because I've talked to a lot of different recruits who kind of have that same thing. It's like you have to tell them no. You build a lot of really close relationship. I mean, these guys are good at building relationships. They like building these relationships. That's why they like to recruit. And, you connect with some dudes and then, and get to know them and they speak into your life, right? They give you, there are probably conversations you have with Coach Bates that made your day better. Over the past couple of years that he lifted you up and probably got you in a better mood. And then to have to tell him no, it probably is the worst part of this entire process for a lot of guys is just having to call those coaches and tell them no.
Yeah.
Well, Jake asked his question and I'll ask you mine. Let's assume we're going to suspend reality in a big way here because this is not even close to the truth. But let's assume that I'm a 5-star recruit and I'm considering Georgia, and you and I are hanging out on a visit. How are you going to sell me? Tell me what it is. What got you sold, and how are you going to sell me on what it is about Georgia for you?
So the type of person I am, I'm completely blunt and honest all the time. So I'm just telling them the truth. I'll be like, bro, if you want to go to the league and you want to get developed and you have high NFL dreams, this is the place to be, especially if you play on defense. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Kind of inarguable at this point. I think it would be hard to argue with you.
So let me ask you this. You're 16 years old. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I think you turned 17 in November, like November 20th or something. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does this happen? I mean, you should be kind of a, even if your birthday, even if you turned 18 on November the 20th, you wouldn't be an old senior. You would just kind of be a regular age senior, but you should be a 2025 kid. How did you end up ahead of the game like this?
I think it's because I didn't do second grade when I got here. I skipped the second grade and went straight to the third grade. And yeah.
Well, you got to and I think you probably know this, especially living in Texas now. Largely, it operates the other way. Normally, if you're a big kid, you get held back a year or two.
Yeah.
So it's not normally that you skip a grade. So Much to
I don't know
credit.
if you got any. I don't know if you're going to have any 19-year-old teammates this year, but I mean, it can happen.
I don't listen. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I will a little bit. Justin Williams, we hear a lot about Georgia there. How you feeling about it, and what are you saying to him? I guess you're giving him that pitch you just gave to us, yeah?
Yeah, to be honest, I've been praying every single day that he comes to Georgia. And I feel, in my heart, I feel like he's going to come. That's just me. Hopefully he does, because playing with him would be amazing. He's
I was going to ask, how special would it be if you guys were able to keep this thing going?
He's basically my older brother. That's what Justin is to me. He's taught me a lot, Those days in practice, they were conditioning, and I'm like out of it, gassed. He always keeps me going. And just the competition, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, my last question for you is also related to him. We see his film, all right? It's really impressive, and he's a 5-star prospect. How good is he up close? How good is he in person? I know a lot of times you're engaged and you're trying to beat a block or you're trying to do your own thing, but you probably get a chance to get a glimpse of him, from here or there. And I mean, is he the number one linebacker in the country? Is he that good?
Most definitely, bro. At practice, let me tell you a funny story. So at practice, we have no pads on. So I'm doing my own thing, trying to work my moves and whatnot. And out the corner of my eye, I see Justin run like full speed at this little kid with no pads on, this sophomore that has football dreams, and just hit stick him. like, he doesn't care at all. And then, not to mention in games, like when we do have pads on, he's in full beast mode. He doesn't care. He just tells us what's to go, looks at his reads, and then finds the opening. He's blowing it up. Justin, like, I remember when, like, this whole ranking stuff, like, when I started getting ranked, I'm like, why isn't Justin a 5-star? This was back when he was a 4-star. Like, why is he not a 5-star and number one in the nation? Like, dude runs a 4.4. Like, what?
Yeah.
And he's strong as heck, too, so... Yeah, but he finally got the ranking he deserves, so I'm proud of him. I'm happy.
No doubt. My last question for you tonight, Joseph, is, Georgia is building a tremendous class. Obviously, the success has been great. But, tell us a little bit about you as a person. What do you like? What do you do away from football? People get caught up in guys as a player, but you're so much more than that. What do you like to do when you're not out there, sweating it out and running sprints and hitting guys in the mouth?
So when you first meet me, everybody says I'm intimidating. And
I would believe that, but that's because of your size, to be honest with
you. Just my resting face. My resting face is kind of, yeah. So, but I'm a cool guy. I'm silly. I'm goofy. Like, I'm still a kid. I just turned 16 a couple months ago, so I'm still a kid. But, I try to be mature as possible. When I'm not playing football, I either like to read or I love to work out. If I wasn't a football player, I'd be chasing bodybuilding or powerlifting. I just like to lift heavy stuff. And then I like to drive, too. I just like cruising.
What do you read? I'm curious.
What do I read? I like to read science fiction and mostly nonfiction. I don't really dig fiction like that.
I'm with you. Same here, man.
Hey, man, we really appreciate you coming on. We'll let you get to dinner because I know you
gotta get. Listen, mama needs the foo-foo, and we ain't gonna hold it up. All right.
Hey, you're a growing boy, dude. Apparently, you were like, what did you play at this past season? Like 240, 250, and now you're like 275.
Yeah, I was 230.
Okay.
And then playoffs, that's when I stepped into the 240 range. And then off season, at the beginning of off season, I was 250, bulked up all the way to 275. Now I'm trying to stay at like 265. I'm just trying to like put on more muscle, be as conditioned as possible.
Goodness.
Hey, they need to put some of these lighter offensive linemen on that Nigerian food diet and get them beefed up. It's working for you, dude. Hey, thanks so much and best of luck to you going forward, dude. You take care, all right?
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.